What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
This is your guy, TJ.
And this is Dani.
And this is another episode of
Lovers Quarrel.
Yeah, it's episode number 20.
20. This is
it's a
milestone, right? Okay.
It's like a milestone, like twice over.
Sure.
Because the last time we stopped at like episode 7.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when we did the podcast before? Yeah. So this is like really good. We're making progress here.
And today we have a very special guest.
Very, very special.
So very special. So today we have Michelle Hope.
Whoop whoop. Thank you so much. Hi guys.
And we'll do our formal, proper introduction befitting Miss Hope a little later on in the episode. But TJ and I just kind of wanted to address episode 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't our best.
It wasn't.
Because, we didn't like each other when we recorded the episode.
Beefing. She was tired.
Yeah, I was like talking in circles. That's why literally the episode was called Going in Circles, because I didn't, like, towards the end, I was just like rambling. And you know what? That's life, because we are very busy people. And
we go through things, and, you know,
we
gotta be honest. So, you know, if it sounded weird to y'all,
it sounded weird as hell to us.
So,
we're going to put that one in the vault. That's going to be.
So with this episode,
we coming correct.
You got it.
What?
No, I'm just saying, with this episode, it's special.
It is.
We have Michelle
really
Hope.
is.
That's one thing. And this one is going to be recorded.
Yes.
So this is going to be the first time we've had a video. So
that's doing our thing.
Really special.
You very special.
I am glad I didn't get dressed.
That's okay. You look
great.
Cute.
I said it's so nice here today, so I had to get outside.
Yes, sun's out, guns out. Gotta get it, girl. I like it. Yeah. So let's just start off with. So also another little amendment to our episode. So TJ and I were talking, and we were saying that, you know, when we do our event of the week, sometimes we literally don't have anything to vent about. And venting kind of has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah, so we wanted to kind of switch it up. We wanted to do something a little different. So we're going to change the name of it. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So instead of it being the event of the week, this part of our show is now going to be known as Elevator Talk. And the reason why it's going to be called Elevator Talk is because it's literally either going to be some ups or some downs. Yeah. So we said that, you know, because depending on the week, depending on our mood, we may have a whole bunch of shit that we want to, like, you know, somebody needs to just, we're putting down or throwing down, or if we want to lift somebody up or we're feeling good, then it's going to be an up kind of talk.
Or it could be up and down, you know,
like
the bad kid who pressed all the buttons.
That would be you.
No, that's crazy to me.
Definitely with a child.
You're erroneous.
Oh, she's going to throw out $4 words and then just hope that what you see
you're a hater.
Okay.
You are such a hater.
Whatever.
So on this elevator talk, that sounds so weird. I gotta get used to it.
Yeah, you do.
I'm going down.
Me too.
All right, cool. So I want to talk about Taylor Swift's remake to September.
Have you heard that? It's bad. Don't waste your time.
Yeah. So
I don't listen to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Like Mariah Carey said, who is that?
Yeah. So she remade Earth, Wind and Fire's
Dancing in September.
And it's like a country version, very bland with banjos and
salt on a cracker dry.
Yeah,
I'm not a Taylor. Who is that?
Yeah.
It was, and you know, like the range that like Earth, Wind and Fire had, like the vocal.
That song goes like.
Who cares? Let them get their money. Cha-ching.
That's a positive. That's
a like silver linings.
That's an up on that. So
that's gonna be a cash cow.
Yeah, but it was just
terrible.
Such a bad song. She's kind of been getting like reamed in the, like, every article I've seen about it was all like, so she did this. It's not that good.
It just reminded me of like the old days, like when black artists couldn't put out music, but the white artists would, and then it'll be like profitable. Like,
Elvis.
I'm not calling.
You better get your coin.
No, definitely,
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Keep that hair laid.
This is true. They go through a lot of relaxer.
So what's your down moment?
Okay, so we obviously, like, you know, we're recorded in New York, but we live in Baltimore, and so I did the drive up, and I can't believe he didn't notice it, but it really irritates me that, like, on the Jersey Turnpike coming up here, there are minimum 4 to 5 ads for like these right to life, anti-abortion, you know, like a baby's heartbeat is at 18 days old, and I'm just like, it's so aggressive. It's so aggressive, and I'm like, y'all are trying to like guilt trip people who are trying to get like down the Eastern Seaboard, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I'm pro-choice, and I have a child, so like I'm fully aware of like what all the physical aspect of like being pregnant is, but it's just like, why are you like assaulting me with like this down? Yeah, like why are you like coming at me from all sides? And like, so I'm saying that, I mentioned it to TJ on the way, but he was like, I've never seen anything. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like they're like, it's like bam, bam, bam. It's like one of those, and then it's like the billboard with like the America's Most Wanted, and then it's like something for healthcare, and I'm like, but why is it so aggressive all up and down the Jersey Turnpike? I have a question for Chris Christie. I don't know who sanctions these, but it's just a lot. Like one, okay, I get it, but like why is it that there's 5 of them? And so it was just like on my spirit when you were driving up here, because everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'd be damned if you have to like have it on a 90-foot billboard. So that's my little bit of elevated talk. Michelle, we always open this part of the segment to whoever our guest may be. Is there anything that is up or down on you?
I'm feeling very good today. Because I like to give back to the community, and I get opportunities to engage with the community often. And this morning, I call it Soup Kitchen Saturdays.
Nice.
So I work and I give out free produce to people in a housing complex here in New York. And they are awesome, and I love them.
Yes.
And I got my first gift of the season, which was...
Drum roll.
This is the best part.
It
is. It was actually a take-home care package from New York Presbyterian Hospital.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of elderly people, and there's this one, Miss Dorothy. Anyway, Miss Dorothy, if I'm not there, when I return, she hits me. But when I'm there, she always tells me how she gets in fights with her doctors. So obviously she's older. Last year she told me she was 65. Today she told me she was 75. But I'm pretty sure she's somewhere between 75 and like 85. Oh. I don't necessarily know if she really knows how old she is. Because she's a spitfire.
Maybe that's how old she feels.
Right. But, and I see all my other lovely ladies and gentlemen, and I am the check-in girl. When I was younger, I used to work nightclubs. I just upgraded to the food baskets now. So I feel great. It's sunny here today.
It is a nice day, finally.
Yeah, so I'm grateful you guys invited me. So thank you so much.
Yes, we're super excited to have you here, and we thank you so much. All right. So now, this is also kind of going to be an alley-oop to Michelle, because this is the relationship tip of the week. And typically, this is where, I come through with some type of hopefully pearl of wisdom gem.
Because only you come up with it.
Huh?
Because only you come up with it.
I mean... Yeah.
That's crazy.
No. Well, I always speak on it, I should say.
That's crazy to me.
We wanted to throw the alley-oop to Michelle. And so, and relationships, well, even though we're this old married couple, we don't just like leave. We don't always like relegate it to just marriage or even long-term relationships. Sometimes it's friendships. Sometimes it's just family familiar relationships. So, with that being said, though, we wanted to offer you the opportunity to give us some wise words from Michelle Hope. Okay.
I think for me today, I could give you the tip of like always talk to each other or like kiss each other at night, but I don't want to do that. I think I want to do something a little different. So there's a really great book called The New People Making, and it kind of talks about family dynamics and relationships. And I studied marriage family therapy in grad school to start. And one of the things I found so fascinating about this book and how kind of relationship dynamics play out in families is that oftentimes, and I feel like since I just met your daughter, this is kind of timely, oftentimes you have to remember that before they were a mom and a dad, they were a son and a daughter, and their parents are someone's brothers and sisters, and all these different hats you wear in your life, and really honoring each one of those hats and honoring, I think, each part of who you are, because you're a dad now and you're a mom now, but you're also a son, because we just got to meet your father too, which was awesome. And like understanding that all of those different hats are different hats, and they look different and they feel different, and just I think tapping into your relationship with self and all those different hats and kind of checking in with you can help improve all of your relationships, because all of those different hats, they're not just one thing or one person. They're involving so many other people. And if we could just take some time to kind of sit in that, I think it can just kind of raise all of your relationships. And being kind, again, to yourself, and kind of filling yourself back up. And not just filling yourself back up as a whole, but even in those individual hats, right? Fill yourself. I think that's my tip of the week.
I think that was an awesome tip of the week. I think it's also very timely for some of the questions that we have for you, or and because we obviously want to get to know you, want to give you your platform, but then also too, like, we wanted to ask you questions as, like you said, like you did marriage and family, counseling as your concentration, but then also you have yours as your sexpert.
Right.
So you have all these kind of hats that you wear, and your passion and your purpose, and so we also have questions for you.
Great.
From even just like our like marital standpoint.
And I have questions for you about
I
marriage.
hope we have
That
answers.
works. I'm always got an answer.
Oh my God! See this guy? Like, I keep him around for tax purposes.
Right.
But
That's great. How you gonna steal my line?
because I got it like that.
No, that's terrible. You gotta
She's
find your
learning.
own.
Exactly.
She got-
Right.
she
I
gotta
learned
find
from the
her own.
master. Right.
Okay.
Okay. Our Wi-Fi password is TJ is my master for. That's what he made our guest password at our house.
I like that.
You do? I don't.
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
You know what?
If
I'm
you
glad
want
you have
it-
somebody on your side.
If you want the Wi-Fi, then
You gotta say TJ is
you
my
gotta
master.
submit.
I'm
Nice.
done with you. I do a lot of talking, so I'm gonna let you
No.
roll out the intro, baby. So go ahead and introduce our
So we
wonderful
have
guest.
Michelle Hope,
Height,
the sexpert, the author.
hardworking woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, like the woman with many hats.
Yes.
So hold on, let me just hold the book up.
Oh, that's
Oh yeah,
so
being that we
kind.
have video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
I
So-
wrote that.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so I got a lot of jokes. A lot of my friends is like, why are you reading the girls' guide?
It's like on our
to
coffee
sex
table.
education?
he was-
I'm like,
But do they pick it up?
Yeah,
They might learn something.
they might. You're
Or
right.
maybe they have a little girl, or they
No,
work
they
with.
don't. They don't have any children.
Well,
but
there's that.
they have sisters, they have aunties, they have cousins.
I mean,
You never know.
You know how.
I hope they learn something.
You know how guys are.
I feel like the next one I think I want to do is adults.
Okay.
Like a man's guide to sex education.
Yeah. I'm certain that there's stuff that's in here that they definitely didn't know, because some of the myths words that exist around like the female body are and they're lots of them, put it like that. Like
Right.
they're not in short supply.
Well, now that I have a daughter, I think it's helpful. Like I read it before, but it I can put it into context a little bit more. Like it's a little bit different of an understanding, because it's like she's a girl
And she's going to go through this.
Yeah.
She's gonna, this is all happening.
So sometimes,
At some point.
Yeah, exactly. So I can kind of have that conversation. We don't need mommy.
Revisit it. You can revisit it as, she grows up
Yeah.
and as she gets older, just to remind yourself about what's coming.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So how was the experience with writing this?
It's a blur.
Okay.
I was really busy at the time that I wrote it, so I don't remember much. I was working probably 50 hours a week
Wow.
on top of, and I did it in like 7 weeks.
Okay.
So that's a very unrealistic timeline. But that also made it so I couldn't nitpick over things. I had to just kind of hit deadlines.
Got it.
I couldn't do it without the help of friends. I had a couple girls that helped me kind of transcribe and dictate. Like, it took dictation for me, because a lot of people don't know this. I'm dyslexic. So for me to write a book, when I was in high school, I couldn't read. I was like reading at a second grade level in high school.
Wow.
So for me, it was emotional to some extent. It was frightening. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was like, and it's over now. So, if you have kids, if you know kids, pick it up. I really want to do another one again, like I said, at different stages of life. Like what sex is when you're single in your 20s is much different than when you're parents.
Yeah.
And it's not just, I need to have sex, or, it's the idea, like, do I want to have sex? Am I in that headspace? And, like, I think that the things I've learned in my work and working with people have given me a lot of insight, and I'd love to be able to share that with large audiences.
Got it.
So, but it was hell. In full disclosure, it was hell.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard, and I have very, very, very close friends. Like one of my best friends is a writer by like trade. And she has published work, and then she also has something she's working on now, and it's like such a, so like that 7 weeks is like you're right, that's the blur, because she like literally has to like go to it. She writes fiction, but then it's like coming back to it, and then finding the motivation, finding the words, because I'm sure there definitely were moments where like sometimes you feel like you're staring at a screen and like nothing is coming. And even if you're talking about something that's, fact-based, it's still like, how do you want to convey that information?
And how do you convey that? The book was designed for younger teens. And then I'm like, so let's talk about trans. Let's talk about this very progressive-y of like somebody that teaches. I teach adults. I work with adults. So I want to just give all these young people all this information. But I'm like, girl, bye. You got to get this out in 250 words.
Yeah.
And like, kids don't have the attention span, and they can't understand a lot of concepts, and I just needed it to be kind of to the point. But it was, girl, I'm glad I did it. Thank you to people who have picked it up. Go pick it up on Amazon. It's also available on Kindle. Yes. I'm not the best promoter of my things, which is weird. I don't know why.
Well, we'll be sure to have the link on the bio, so that way people know
they can get it there. And then and it's such a necessary thing, because like we talked before, like I teach middle school, so this is like I teach your target audience, and there is so much that they don't know. And I almost would say that, like, if not telling you what to do, but like a boy's guide to sex education, because they think they know so much and they don't know anything. And I'm like, and in middle school, like, farts and sex is like the topics of discussion always. And so it, even more so than my girls, like, as far as like girls need to understand like their bodies, because there's so much happening, and there's so much happening with boys' bodies too. But what I see sometimes, at least, is like the conversation isn't so geared to sex among my girls, at least not to the level that my boys are. Like everything's about like who's having sex, who's getting it, who's doing.
It's porn.
Yeah.
It's porn. And you have to understand, like, they say that they believe, like, first exposure to porn is about 8 or 9 years old.
Wow.
And everybody's got a smartphone, so it's really easy to access porn.
We had to work hard to see porn when we were growing up. Like,
you had to fight for it.
I just stole my brother's. He had the VHS tapes.
Oh.
I had to like try to sneak it. Like, I hope.
The first one I saw was at my friend's house.
I must be older than you, because I remember it was, look at the Playboy. Or you had to actually read to see porn. Like, it was like, why am I reading? I don't know all these words.
So my babysitter, they used to have like adult magazines in the bathroom.
Yep.
So, used to want to like go in the bathroom to see it.
And then you'd stay in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it goes.
But yeah, you're right. It's so much easier. It's so much like at your fingertips. Yep. And so many parents are giving their kids these smartphones and tablets just to placate them. Like,
yeah, but it's not just phones. So let's not. It's the billboards we drive by. We're bombarding young people with images of like sexuality, sex. We sexualize so many things. And I'm going to say this, don't be mad, because I know we're coming to the summer, but I want you to consider this, because you have a little girl. What's the point in putting a bikini on a little girl? Like, when we think about what bikinis are, they're made to make women somebody might be like, oh, it's for a tan. You ain't getting no tan on no little baby, but they look cute, and we're like, oh, she's so cute. Yeah. But when we really like peel back the layers of that, and now they have them where they sparkly and they have little skirts on them, and it seems like, I don't have a child, but I'd be like, you got to put a waterproof pamper on. Okay, you finna get in a pool, right? Like, I don't see the point. Maybe that makes me a hippie, but there's no breast buds. There's, just, we hypersexualize things. Like, even on the internet, somebody puts a picture of a baby in a bathtub and they're like, oh, we're taking this down for nude or lewd content. Oh, well, we have to protect them against pedophiles. And I get all of that, but that in itself seems like we are consuming so much sex and sexuality without context. And context is so important because boobs are the human body, and like
they serve a purpose at some point in your life.
A meal for someone, and it just, I have to catch myself in other things. Like, I was watching something about breastfeeding, and a woman was breastfeeding her daughter until 8.
Yeah. And
that's how I felt. I was like, that's a fetish waiting to... But then my friend, who is a very wise woman and mother, was like, but Michelle, now you're sexualizing that. And I was like, you know what? I am. And I had to check myself. So I have to check myself, even in this profession, even, really studying human development and all of this. We're just bombarded with sex. So books like these put things into context and into perspective, and I hope that it's a good tool for parents to be able to start conversations.
Yeah, and I think it will, because it's much needed, because the level of misinformation out there is kind of like staggering, and they need all the help they can get, especially girls and guys of this age range, because that's just everything. I actually I'm taking like a class right now in grad school, and like we're on the child development portion of it, and I was like reading about it, and it's hard sometimes to think about it when we get to being adults, about like how much your cognitive and your physical development is like moving at warp speed in like the first like 14 years of your life.
Yeah.
And it's like you try to remember, because it's almost like it's a blurry history when you think back on your own for some people, but it's coming so fast and so furious, that these changes and these like needs and these, and you can't reconcile them. Right. And so that having that, having things like this as a guide is what is necessary, because that's how other people end up, way off the beaten path.
Right.
And I think having the conversation, I think that's the biggest thing. Sometimes, parents would be like, they're too young to have that conversation. But if they're exposed to that, to those things, you should have that conversation, so that way they know what to look out for, So.
And how to digest the world around them with the Me Too movement, Time's Up, Stormy Daniels, a president who says grab them by the pussies. It's like sex is everywhere. And to kind of speak to the idea of brain development, right? So when a child is born, you see the most amount of brain development between 0 and like 4 years old. And then the second time that you will see the most amount of brain development is during puberty. So that's why the middle schoolers that you're dealing with, it is warp speed for them in that time, because the, what's happening is the body is starting to become an adult. So the chemicals in the brain are flooding. That pituitary gland starts pumping hormones. And then once those hormones, whether it's testosterone or estrogen or, once those things start happening, it's like there's sleep. They become sleep deprived because their circadian rhythm is thrown off, and they want to stay up later and sleep all day. There have been some studies to suggest that they should push school back a few hours to kind of help with that. They're trying to manage removing themselves from the connection to their parents and start to kind of step out on their own ideals, and that can be a scary place. And if we as parents and educators and stakeholders aren't there to kind of give them that fertile soil, there's a lot that can go wrong. And we see that it does often. But
and then they seek so much of their validation and their information from each other, that they want to like fall into it with their tribe. Like, it's just like, well, they don't know what they don't even know, so they just like seek answers from each other,
and it's the worst answers ever.
They're all wrong.
They're all wrong. But that's why parents should try to start talking about sex and sexuality prior to 13, because once they hit about 13, 14, then they are really shifting into listening to their peers. But before that, they will take your advice. So that's the time to like, at 9, 10, when puberty starts to like set in, that's the best time to start the conversation. And all the time, actually.
And I totally agree, because I feel like I was one of those few kids who, like, when I like started my period, I knew what it was. Like, I wasn't surprised. I didn't think I was dying. Like, I hear all those stories where people be like, "Oh my God, I thought I was like I'd fallen. I fell on my bike, and I thought like, oh my God," and I'm like, no, like what? Like, how did you even think that this was anything but crazy. Your period starting? And I have friends who like had literally no clue what was happening, and I'm like, what conversations did your mother have? And she was like, they didn't.
Right.
And I'm like, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around that, because I have a mother, I have an older sister, so tampons and pads were like always in full supply in my linen closet. And before I even had, it was my turn. So, but then when that time came, I knew what it was. I knew what to do. I knew like what things that I'd be, experiencing. And so it wasn't as traumatic as it was for some of my friends. And then when the conversations about, like sex and things like that, like sometimes when people would say things and I'm like, that's not right. Like 13-year-old Dani was like, that's not it. Like, no, like, I mean, I don't know everything. I'm not talking from personal experience, but I can promise you that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah. I think that it's better to start the earlier the better, like as new parents. And I always kind of say this too. Start talking to them about their bodies, their breasts, their vagina, their penises before they can even speak. So while you're changing, mommy has to touch your vagina. Mommy has to wipe your vagina. No fake words. Daddy has to wipe your vagina. And then what you're also doing when you start that young is you're starting to build body autonomy. And then it's easier to be like, if somebody tries to touch your vagina, you tell mommy, you tell daddy, nobody should touch these spaces. And if you can start training them to like really know that my body is my choice, it's my right, and all that. We start very young, and it becomes easier.
Once you leave my body, then it becomes your body. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
So another question that I had for you. So I told you that we definitely wanted to talk about like the book and the body and the just like the focus on that. But then there's also like that relationship portion. And TJ and I, so like we've been married 5 years now, together 14.
Is it 4? We're going on 14.
Going on 14.
Or we're going on 15.
Wait.
720.
What's 2004 to now? So that's 14 years. Yeah, 14 years this summer.
Okay.
All right. So this is when it's been a long time. And obviously like we've got lots of things going on. We're doing a podcast. We're in school. We're working. We have a child. All this stuff. And obviously, like, intimacy becomes something that falls by the wayside. So a question that we have or want to know is, as far as like at different stages of your life, because you already kind of touched on it, is like, what do you believe like a healthy sex life is? Or like when you're talking like frequency, you're talking about intimacy, like whatever, however you want to interpret that.
Right. So for you and for all the listeners, right, I think the first thing is you need to identify how important is sex to you, period. Right? And just be really honest with each other and be like, and evaluate it for yourself first and think about it for yourself. How important is sex to me? And how important is sex in this relationship at this time? Because I think these are conversations that you shouldn't let years and years and years go by on silent. I think it's regular check-ins. I think that it has to do with open communication. And obviously, being new parents, being in school, there is a lot there. And you have to really create time. But I think prior to creating time, you have to identify, like, what does that look like for me? And what will feel good to me, right? I think a lot of people end up in relationships that can end up sexless, but that doesn't mean it's a bad relationship. It might mean that those two people aren't that sexual. So evaluating what is best for you. Then being honest with your partner and being honest with yourself about the reality, like what is actually tangible, right? Like, is this realistic? Sometimes people say things to me, and I'm learning this myself. I want to spend every waking moment with you. Okay, that was a lie because that is not actually possible, and it sounds creepy. But you know, these Hallmark cards that we get and these ideals of what a relationship is supposed to be. What is enough sex in a successful relationship? I think that has to be determined by the 2 people or 3 people or however many people in that relationship, right?
Got it.
That is what you have to establish. And then you make time if you have to calendar it. So if it's like, okay, I really would love to have sex at least 2-3 times a week. But let me look at my schedule. Okay, I have kickboxing in the morning. I got a big meeting. I'll probably be up late, right? I have a class. All right, so maybe it's not 3 times a week. Maybe it might be only once a week. And then you have a baby. And it might be like, okay, now where do we fit this once a week in? And the baby's crying and the this and the that and the phone's ringing. And so you're like, okay, maybe it's once a month, right? So I think understanding that it's gonna ebb and flow, but try to set a base mark. Like, okay, we're in this together, we're a team. So let's not let a month go by without sex, right? That you make that sex date, come hell or high water, you make that sex date and you show up. And even if you're tired, you show up. And it's not because you have to. It's because you've made a commitment to yourself, right? You take the other person out of it. Because remember, the first thing we said, have a conversation with yourself. Identify how important is sex to me. Okay, I know how important it is. Then have a conversation with your partner. Okay, how much sex would, in an ideal world, do we want? And then be like, okay, so let's talk about what's realistic. Okay, so kind of, it's like SMART goals. You set these goals, right? Then it's, holy shit, this week got away from us. We didn't do it. So doesn't mean you need to go above and beyond next time, but maybe you can have a little nicky. And does it always have to be sex? Could it be oral? Could it be a hand job? You know what? Sometimes I might just want my partner to grab my left titty while I'm masturbating with my vibrator. Because I'm tired, you're tired, I don't feel like showering, or I just got out the shower. You're not finna get me messy, honey, because I ain't trying to get this press, steamed up. I'm trying to go straight to work in the morning, whatever it may be. So can you just grab my boob? I'm going to rub one out. You want to hold the vibrator for me? Just find ways to fulfill each other. And then intimacy is something totally different. Intimacy doesn't have to be sex at all. So then again, let's go back to the plan. Have a conversation with yourself. Evaluate how important is intimacy and how do I identify intimacy without sex? Because that's something I feel like a lot of people struggle with. Like they can't, they think of intimacy, they automatically think of sex. Or you're with a partner who their intimacy doesn't quite look like your intimacy. And you take some time to identify that, right? Intimacy can be as simple as a loving nudge, or the way they look at you, or breakfast, or, you know what, babe, let me go handle this bottle time. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's, I need 5 more minutes of sleep, and that is, whoo, honey, I just feel like I had an orgasm because I got 5 extra minutes of sleep. It's things like that, I think. There's not a set time. Also, when I say schedule sex and schedule sex and do it, if you miss it, that's fine, because I don't want this to just become a chore on a list of things to do, right?
It's like, go get the eggs,
have sex, whatever.
Pick up the dry cleaning.
Right.
Yeah.
And I might also recommend trying to step outside the box sometimes with sex, right? You have all these things going on. I'm trying to think creatively and appropriately. But, maybe a quickie here or a quickie there, or if you don't, or sometimes a nice slap on the ass. Yeah, I'm just giving you kind of ideas because I might not have children, but I do know what it's like to have a laundry list of things to do. And sex is important, but it's not the most important, or you have to evaluate that for yourself. Like it really is a difficult thing to answer because you got to ask yourself, how important is sex to this?
I think that was a very good response. Because that's kind of what like our some of our beef was like about, because like we said, like have all this stuff going on. And one of the things that you mentioned was about like, I like about what you said about the intimacy portion, because I think that's sometimes where that reevaluation has to come in, because we talk about like we've talked about love languages on the show, and he and I speak. It's like as far as our primary love language are definitely different. Like mine are acts of service, so it's again like that. I don't remember mine. Yours was
I had like 5 ties
because he wants it all. That's what it is.
He's like, give me the cake. I want to eat it too.
Exactly.
And have a soda pop.
But what she said about the commitment, about I think my biggest thing with it is the attempt. Mm-hmm. If you're trying, I don't have a problem. Mm-hmm. But if you're just like, listen, I'm tired. It is what it is. See me when I'm not tired anymore. And it's kind of like,
well, you have kids. You're always going to be tired.
Yeah. But I feel like that's where, when you say like evaluate yourself, for me, I could be tired, but if you hit me on my shoulder, I'm waking up.
But you have to understand why. We're different bodies.
Definitely.
And different brains. And this is no discredit.
That was my question.
This is no discredit to men at all. Like, I might be tired, right? Mm-hmm. And I might want to have sex. I might want all the D tonight. The problem is, being a woman after having children, it's going to take this motor some time to warm up. Like, you know, on average, women take like anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes to get to a place where it's actually comfortable and we're lubed up enough and we're wet enough to have intercourse. After having a child, well, you're still trying to get to know your pussy again because something crawled out of it, right? And I think for men, and I love you, men, your dick will get hard when the wind blows. And that is a blessing, and we are very jealous of it. Don't let a woman tell you she's not. Because there are times that we're like, man, woo, yeah, we want it. But it's like, okay, the cootie cat is not communicating. Something is not popping off. As a parent, and again, I'm not one, but, you know, what I hear a lot from mothers is the baby going to wake up? Is she going to choke on food? And then I'd be a bad mom because I was getting ass and my baby fell out the crib. I mean, like, these are all thoughts that new mothers have, right? What if the baby sees me or hears me moaning? Like, that'll ruin her for life. Like, you know, these are new mom challenges. And it's also parenting challenges. Like, so I think that we want to have sex. We want to have, but sometimes our desire is not there.
Got it.
But so like men think linear, women think with all parts of our brain, right? We think with more parts of our brain than men. Men can focus very easily on pussy, yeah, come on. Women will be like, did I put bleach in the clothes with the darks? And like, we'll have so many things. So for us to get to a space where we're sexually ready, it takes work.
Got it.
And I feel like that's something I wish a lot of men knew. Like, it's not, you can't just roll over, poke me, put your penis in me and think like, first of all, that I'm wet. Like, but then sometimes as women, we won't say anything. And it's a hard thing to say because we don't want our partners to think we don't love them. We don't want them. It's just the mechanics of a woman's body takes a little bit more time. And it's a little bit more difficult for us to clear the space in our brains to allow for like us to fully enjoy the experience. And then when we're not enjoying the experience, then now our brains is like, now you his piece of ass, bitch. Like, our brains are saying all these other things like, why do I feel like this isn't, he's not paying me this or he's not doing that. And you know, I can't speak for every single woman out there, but I have this deep down uterus spidey sense that there are a lot of women out there who have experienced it. I have. You know, I have been in relationships where I might want to have intercourse, but the other person, their brains was not in it. And then when they want to have intercourse, I'm asleep. Like, but then I just give in, which is a terrible thing to do because I'm just reinforcing bad behavior, I guess. You know, oh my gosh, a sexologist has had sex problems. Go figure, right? It's human. It's a very human experience. But I think, you know, we want to try, but with the 20 minutes it would take us to get wet and ready, you know, the baby's going to wake up or I'm going to fall asleep. And then we don't want you to think we're not there. It's just that it's the way our brains work, I think.
Yeah. And I think, and that's like something that I've kind of like had that conversation with TJ many times about like, I'm like, you got to understand, it's just like, I'm like, my head and my coochie are like interconnect, like they're connected. So it's like, if I'm not in that space up here, and it's not going to happen down there. And it's also like, I think too, and that goes to say that, and I've said that to him in the context of, if me and you like aren't in a good place with each other, like if we just fussed about who's picking up dinner or whatever, it's like, you know, I think that's like goes back to, like you said, the brain and the biology, because we could be beefing, but then if I come over to him and 2 seconds later I'm like a little like this, he's ready. But like if he tries to come over to me and I'm like,
don't touch me,
I'm like, get off me.
Yeah, like I need a break.
It's like I need a minute or 20,
right?
And it's
or another day, 24 hours.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's just like it doesn't, and you know, and it's like trying to explain that to a man is like, it doesn't correlate. It's like, how are you gonna give me your ass to kiss? And I'm not trying to like bash you or anything like that, babe. But it's like, you know, it's like you can't give me your ass to kiss 1 second, and then the next second you want me to like be ready to go.
Right.
And
that's not how it always is.
It's not how it always is, but sometimes that's...
And it's not all about you, too, because I bet there's somebody else out there feeling the same way.
And it's just like, and he has valid points, too. And I think it's the... And because my question was literally going to be like, can you, like, back me up on that there's, like, a connection between, like, the brain and desire and
for women.
For women and...
Yeah. So think about this. Viagra for men, right? That is a blue pill that literally you take it and the chemicals in that pill send blood to your penis to give you an erection. Then they came out with the pink pill. But the pink pill is actually like an antidepressant. It doesn't send, tingles to our vaginas. It doesn't work at that. It works in brain chemistry, and it's more like something like literally like a antidepressant medication, right? And then also understanding, like there's a lot of brain and body biology here. So depending on your medication that you're taking, that can also like remove desire.
Got it.
Stress levels, obviously, remove desire. And those kinds of things can make people feel like they're not wanted by the other person. And it's not that. It's just so hard to talk about because it's not like... Some people, it's like, I want to have desire for sex. It's just currently it's not there. And men have needs, and I get it. I definitely get it. It's not to say that men are more horny than women. No.
Because there are some very horny women.
Talking about it. But it's just kind of, again, like, how do we get through that? How do we manage that? If I am not in the mood and it's taking me a while, one... check in with yourself and be like, I don't think I'm not having enough sex here. Or, I don't think I'm putting out enough here. And why is that? So then you have to kind of ask yourself, why am I not putting out? Oh, I just don't want to. Okay, I need to tell my partner and accept that I'm struggling with desire, right? And then that might be call to a therapist. Not because there's something wrong with your marriage. There might be some residual things from your past that, now that you're in this new space of your life. Remember, we talked about the hats at the beginning, right? So the idea that one of your hats might be bringing things up for you that are pulling away from a different hat and the way you wear that hat.
Makes sense.
So how do you kind of balance, how do you make all those hats fit
on one head?
And it can be done. It's just you check into them. And you rotate them and you're making sure everything's tight there. So I think that's kind of what it's about. And don't take it personally. But I do want to say this about sex. because you know I love talking about sex.
Yes.
Guys, if your lady wants to give you some pointers on sex moves or something you're not doing well, don't take it personally and shut down. It's just like, again, as we age, and this is, I think, really important for men to remember, as we age and as our bodies change, not just after childbirth, but also like as we get older, we go through different changes, hormonal changes. Don't take offense. Just, hear us. Hopefully, ladies, you're respectful. I, in the past, have not been so respectful. Probably talked my way out of some ass, but, I live, I learn. That's why I'm giving you guys all this advice.
Well, we appreciate it. And I think it's important and I really feel like it's important for people to hear because, this is us, and this is something that we obviously, like, go through. And I think the term ebb and flow is something I know I've used before because it comes and goes. And, whenever you hit these new, you're at this new juncture in your life that now there's these new, great things that have happened, but there's also these detractors, and that it's important to kind of, like you said, revisit and like with yourself and to communicate, because I know for myself, I get like that you talking about that whole brain thing because I'm thinking about like, oh my God, I have a lesson plan and I have a classwork and a discussion board post, and that's Tatum saying she's hungry and I got to wash her hair and then I got to, trying to figure out what I'm wearing to work tomorrow and this and that. And then it's just like by the time my head hits the pillow, it's like lights are out, and it's, and that is, and it's I know it's not just me, and there's like a lot of unrealistic expectations.
Well, definitely not just you. I mean, we've had conversations. I think that's one of the I guess cool things about us. Like we have those conversations. Yeah. We talk about those things. Probably early on, I wasn't as understanding, but then you kind of see it, and it's like, oh shit, like
it's a lot going on.
When she's falling asleep where she's staying, pretty much, So you understand that, I don't mind talking about it because I know there's other people out there who goes through it, but they may not know how to communicate with their partner, or they may not understand to kind of sit back and say, what could I do different? Or, what questions could I have? Sometimes couples don't have this type of conversation because it's like taboo. Like, I'm not going to ask about it, or I'm not going to ask, what can I do better?
Or they should know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, also, and this is, kind of personal in some of my past relationships. Like, I've been with people that, which is crazy, that are not communicators. Like, you might think like, girl, how are you ever going to be with somebody who's not a communicator? Right? Because I'm a talker. I love, again, human development. I love this. And just knowing people, and I always have been, and they are just not that person, or they were not in any way a talker or a communicator. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good thing. Doesn't mean it wasn't working in its own way. But that's another thing. I think society puts on us all these expectations of what relationships should look like. Relationships should look like what the people in those relationships want them to look like.
Agreed.
Facts.
As long as it's not oppressive in any way and nobody's getting a beat down, it's a safe and consensual relationship, then go on and do what you do.
Yeah. It definitely is. I guess, what could you say? And I know you kind of again, like you must have like really read my mind when we were talking about like the different questions. Because one thing that I would want our listeners, because a lot of people that we do know that listen are in some form of a relationship or have been or in between relationships, and what's some ways that couples can try to, like, I guess, like, keep it interesting? And I'm not just necessarily in the bedroom, but just like, what are some things that you would say, like, if I'm thinking like a whole body or a whole, like, thinking right from the all sides, like, what way could a couple try to keep things interesting? Because as time goes by, we get into our norms, we get into our routines, we get into those zones of just kind of like we're two ships.
The ruts.
Yeah, ruts. That's the word.
So I think all people, coupled or not coupled, should remember the mind is like a parachute. It's best used when it's open.
I like that.
So you want to open your mind and your spirit, okay? Again, I can talk about how in past relationships, there were things that my partner was into. I was not into, not even a little bit. But then I said, let me open my mind. And I tried it. I tried what they were into. Maybe I didn't quite like it the first time because I didn't understand it. But then as I got more into it, I caught myself at a Doctor Who convention once.
A Doctor Who? Oh, Doctor. Okay, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
A lot of people don't know, but most people who are into it are very culty about it. It's a very culty kind of television show.
Cumberbatch, right? Is it the new one? Benedict Cumberbatch, the actor?
It's a girl this time.
Oh, it's a girl.
Which
okay.
is amazing because in the how many ever 50 years it's been on, it's never been a woman. But that's okay. Now I'm getting geeky.
Okay.
But it's kind of like if
it.
you're into Star Wars and you are just like, I'm not into Star Wars, but you go to like a Star Wars convention with them or something. One, it's gonna make your partner feel really happy. Two, it's also you might end up finding out you like something different. You learned something different. And that's about like keeping your brain sharp as a human. It's just trying new things. Groupon. I love a good Groupon.
I do too.
TJ swears by those.
You know, doing things, theater shows. And then a lot of guys out there might be like, theater is boring. I might fall asleep. And some people might fall asleep. Just try new things. Exercising together, that can help keep you fit, get your endorphins up, and it can boost your libido.
Sex drive, yes.
What other things? Read books together. I think that's a really great way to like have your own little book club. The two of you meet up with other couples and have book clubs or couples charades. Help. Like if you have a couple friend group, get together, go camping. Like do the things that you wanted to do as a little kid. Don't let the curiosity for life leave you in adulthood or get in the rut. And if you want to break that, you got to tap back into that curiosity. So take a moment, tap right back into yourself and try to remember, what did you love to do as a little kid? What were the things you were really into? And then find ways you can implement that into your relationship. Because you color, like, it sounds silly, but like coloring together, because you have to take care of this whole person.
I love to color.
This whole person. And you have to...
I'll watch you color. I'll definitely watch you color.
While there's football on or something.
No, I'll watch
basketball game.
Because see, when I color, when I do anything, I don't have patience a lot of times. So I'm just gonna go.
His hand-eye coordination is like a little.
Nah, don't do that. I'm just saying.
Like you don't shuffle cards. He can't shuffle cards.
That's because my hands are just really big. But I'm just saying. Besides that, like for me, coloring, I don't want to have to take my time. I just want to color. Like I just want to.
Have you ever gone to a paint and sip?
No.
So no, we haven't because we were supposed to, but it was a lie because I threw him a surprise 30th birthday party and I told him we were going to one, and then when his family and friends were there and he was like, what the hell? I thought this was a paint and sip.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Okay.
We might have to try that.
We took a painting class together.
We were in college. We did take a painting class together.
Look, right here. Taking it back to memories when you had less things going on.
Yeah.
And the smiles. Your smiles lit up.
Because I just thought it was funny.
That class was bad.
But look at you laughing.
Yeah.
Like you're connecting back to a memory and a time before you had all these things.
Like all the adulting came
Makes
through.
sense.
Yeah.
You're right, and I think those are good things, and it's fun. And we just also came back from like a couples trip because we went away for his birthday, and we were with like some of our really really good friends who also are couples, and I know I had a really great time.
I had a ball,
and it was.
I want to do more like couple trips.
And it's nice now though because for the longest time while we were always kind of like that couple that was like the constant, like always in a relationship, Dani and TJ, and then our friends were like, I'm dating this person, but now they broke up and now they're single, so like we and what was always kind of like the one good thing about us, I always felt like, is that we never made any of our friends ever feel like the third wheel. Like it was like there was so many times where it'd be like me, TJ, and my best friend, or me, TJ, and his best friend, but it never felt like, oh, I'm infiltrating whatever they have going on because in their relationship, or they're making me feel like, because it's just like, we're just all together, we're hanging out, right. and so now though we're older, more of our friends are married or in long-term relationships. So now we get to have these experiences as like couples because, there's just that constant. But I think those are really, really good suggestions because it means, like you said, tapping back into the things before we had everything going on and what, the things that made us happy. Like one thing I always liked was, and you said like take open in your mind because I'm not really huge on sports, but what little I know about basketball is just literally, it's kind of like osmosis. Like I just been in the room while he's watching the game and I like, know players or I'll know like positions or who I'm looking at and, or like video games. He's somebody who enjoys playing video games. And one thing that we used to do when we were younger was, the video games that kind of required you to like solve puzzle, like the patient, he has no patience. He likes shoot 'em up games, but like when you have to like
straight to the point.
When you have to like figure out the combination to open a door, that wasn't him. So then that's when he like.
I didn't mind it, but it was easier.
I was better at it. So like Tomb Raider, that was our shit. Like Tomb Raider, I would figure out the puzzles and whatever, and then as soon as somebody started shooting at me, I'd pause and like pass the controller back over to him, and then he would kill everybody, and then we'd switch back and forth. And so like it's you're right, like it's small things, but it's whatever kind of brings it back to like why you even got with this person to begin with, And I think that's awesome.
Yep.
So I have a question for the guys. So I hear guys talk about threesomes, right?
Oh, okay.
And I want to ask, what is your view on it, like pros, cons? Just because I feel like guys say it, but don't really think about.
Nobody thinks about the logistics.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's a lot of limbs.
It's a dog and pony show. That's the show. So I think, maybe this is a fantasy you want to, or have wanted. Maybe you tried it once before and really liked it. There's a lot of things that can be great, I guess. You can be like, man, that was a great experience. And then there's a lot of logistics, like STIs. Not just STIs. Who's wearing a condom? How you doing that? You switching in between, right? Like how you protecting yourself. And it's not even about, yes, it is about STIs, but even for women, like mixing different, it can throw off the healthy probiotic in the vagina. And now I got BV. Now I'm smelling like fish. And guess what? You don't have to smell it all week, buddy, because you got a threesome. You get what I'm saying?
Got
so
you.
Like things like that. Is your dick gonna stay hard? Did you think about that? Because I feel like a lot of men in their minds like, yeah. But then once you get men in the room, I've seen it where the man couldn't get an erection because he just was like, who do I touch first? Like, it's not as easy as a man would think. You watch these pornos and you are acting like a little kid who saw his first horror show thinking it's real. It's not real. Not to say you can't do them, not to say they can't be hot, because if I said that, I'd be a liar. But it's just a logistical thing. This is just going to throw all caution to the wind. And then it's like, who leaves first? And do you pay for the cab? Whose house are you at? Is there kids there? Are you going to step on a toy? Do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of logistical things. Like, are you at the hotel? Who's paying for that? Do you go halves on that? Where did you find the girl?
Use the Cash App.
Is the person going to rob us? Like, there's a lot of different things to think about.
Got you.
Not saying you can't do it.
You hear that, fellas?
And then we ain't even got to the emotional part. What if now all of a sudden you like it so much you can't stop? You gonna give up your relationship for a piece of ass you got in a threesome? Maybe. I don't know. How will that change your life? How will that change the dynamics of your relationship? How might your woman look at you differently? Will she still trust you? Is that gonna be a thing? Will sex be the same? I mean, like, you really got to think about all of the things that could absolutely go wrong. And then if you want to move forward, as long as it's consensual, go ahead on. But you need to do it sober. Because what if, one night we had a threesome. It was wild. It was great. It was crazy fun. Hennessy. And then next thing you know, the third party's like, I didn't really want to do that. I felt pressured. I mean, It's things to think about.
It can be problematic.
Sticky,
yeah.
Precarious.
Yeah, sticky is a good word, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, if you want to do it, I'm not saying not to do it.
I just consider the option.
Yeah, consider the option. And what if you and your partner like doing it, right? Mm-hmm. Do you sleep with the same person every time? Or how do you guys go out and find your third? Mm. And again, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just there are things you should consider.
You just think about
the logistics of it. Every time you find a third, do you have to wine and dine them? Are you going to start dating a third person? And does that person now become a part of your relationship? Or is this a sex thing? What if the third person starts catching feelings for your wife? What if your wife starts catching feelings for that third person? It's just, I don't think people think about that. And that's when it gets messy. Mm-hmm. They don't think about all that stuff before they get into it. What's the backup plan? And what's the backup plan? What if the third gets pregnant? What if the third gets an STI? What if the third brings an STI into your relationship? What if the third has a crazy other partner that shows up at your job one day?
It's for those reasons why.
I mean, we're good.
It's not high on my list of things that I want to do, but it was like I think they should about like those whole brain things because I'm like I would think about all of those things before.
Well, that's the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Because I think as guys, society tells us, you're the man if you can get two women. I think that we don't think about the full picture. So. Mm.
That's that kind of linear thinking. Like you're just thinking about
it's a gift and a curse.
I see.
It's really a gift and a curse.
I mean, I'm good, but like I said, I wanted to ask the question because I wanted to be able to get that
information.
And now there's no Craigslist. Where are you going to find your threesome?
I've heard about that.
They got rid of Craigslist.
And Backpage.
I heard about Backpage. Yeah.
Craigslist, FetLife might go down. Parts of Reddit have gone down. Our government is starting to police our sex lives, which is a problem. And they're using they use language that makes it seem like we're doing a great thing, we're ending human trafficking, but oftentimes when you get to the nuts and bolts of some of these bills, they're actually hurting people more than they are helping. Mm-hmm. Or the way the bills are designed secretly can hurt the very organizations that are trying to help survivors and victims.
Oh wow!
So it's
because you can't track. Like
it's complex.
If the website isn't out, then there's no way to track.
Well, and they can lose in some of these bills. We're talking about like the it's the idea of like making liable the website for the practices that its users have. For example, like Craigslist, right? They took down personal ads because the new bill changed the laws. They used to not be responsible, right? But now they're saying that depending on what is up, the website can be liable for the acts of its users.
Oh, okay.
So they got rid of that. But the problem is that some of these spaces like Reddit would allow sex workers to have conversations with other sex workers to identify Johns that were dangerous. And now without these spaces, these women and men and individuals who choose sex work are now forced to not have as much as many ways to communicate with other people in their proftion.
So it's like it's like a loss of a resource, like a
vital resource. I also believe that if a nonprofit or an organization that relies on federal funding is caught saying anything that could lead someone to believe they were encouraging sex work, they would lose federal funding. There are sex education websites that have gone down because of this.
Wow.
There are resources that are being lost because of this, and it's unfortunate because it's one of those laws that may end up hurting people more
than helping.
And also sex workers or adult providers can no longer, they can get shut down if they're advertising for their work. But we're pushing them back out on a stroll. Like they gonna
be back at Hunts Point.
Right. Like, yeah. So it's to some extent, human trafficking is a horrible thing, but it's happening in other spaces and other places in more aggressive ways than the ways these bills have been written. Mm-hmm. So that, it sucks.
Bottom line. So before we started recording, I know that, I was kind of giving you the rundown. Do you have any questions for us or anything?
Actually, it's interesting because I feel like we've kind of touched on them. So
okay, good.
One of the things was being new parents. I wanted to ask how sex is going, and like the idea of desire and how we communicate and how we get through that. But that was we kind of actually
answered and kind of worked through it. Yeah, because it did. Yeah, because it's
up and down.
It's like
it's nothing negative. Again, I think it's just having that communication and being huge. Okay to talk about it and being able to see it, Mm-hmm. Like you said, not sometimes, guys are linear, so I may look at it a certain way, and then I may need to see something to be like, oh, I was wrong.
Yep.
And, I think that's one of the things. I'm okay with saying I'm wrong. I'm okay with
some men aren't
taking my faults. So, I do see that my wife does a lot, Mm-hmm. I've seen the change in her body. I've seen the change in everything. So I understand. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. And I think that, trying to make sure like I communicate to him, like for us, it's always kind of been like that level of like that exhaustion, like that tired thing. Mm-hmm. That bit has always been like kind of like a point of contention with us, because like I can't emphasize in how many ways like how I'm exhausted. And
sidebar though,
yes,
with that, you used to always say you were tired.
I did, and I was the girl who cried wolf because I was tired. Yeah, okay. I was tired when I
just wanted to make sure that I
had a full-time job. That I was tired when I became a teacher, and then I'm like when I got pregnant, I was tired, and then when the baby came, I'm like more tired than I've delirious, Yep. And I've said, and so I said, like, I should have not complained about being tired 5 years ago the way I'm tired now, because it's a whole new level. It's like there's levels to this shit, and and communicating to him that I did do that, and I shouldn't have said that, but like now reflecting back, like I've spent the better part of a year waking up several times during the night, like REM cycles don't happen with a 6-week-old, and it's and so that when you're not rested, you're not really up for much of anything, let alone sex. So that part we did kind of like talk about, but it again ebbs and flows. Like we'll have our our good runs, and then things kind of like fall back, and it does take that communication. It does take that,
I said we're growing from it.
We are, because I'll be honest, like sometimes it's just like I'm too tired to communicate. Like I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about anything. I just want to go to bed. I just don't.
You gotta respect it. So
yeah, and I also have to come from a place where like I have to get over it too. Not get over it, but I gotta like meet you halfway sometimes if you are trying to work with me. But I've had those moments where I'm like I don't got it in me.
Like episode 19.
Yeah, episode 19. I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
And it just it shows, and then it's like, and then it makes me look, and then it makes me look terrible, or makes me look like
I don't think it makes you look
not
terrible.
Look okay, maybe not look terrible, but it's just like I feel like the bad guy, because how do you look when somebody's really trying to like meet you halfway and you can't even meet them like a foot.
Quarter.
Like and so that is a reality, and it's
for me, as long as we have open communication. So my thing is open communication and the attempt. That's all I would want. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have to be whatever. But if you even thought about it, or if you even attempted, then it's like, okay, she tried. Mm-hmm. That's for me. I can't speak for everybody else. Mm-hmm. But
so don't.
Do another 14 years.
Exactly.
Listen, I tell people all the time, if you want to test your relationship, have a child. Like it tests your relationship. It tests your thinking. Everything. Everything changes. Like it's the most beautiful thing, but it can also be the worst thing, because if you're not at that mental space, or if you don't know how to go with the wave, you can get lost. You know, I think sometimes we as people get selfish. We don't see what our partner's going through, or we don't care because it's about me. But, you know, that's when a relationship gets stale and messed up. So,
and I think it's really important to know that, like, it takes a village. When they say it takes
village,
it takes a village. Like,
when Tatum was born, Dani's cousin came, her older cousin, and she literally, like, took Tatum for us. Like, and I was okay with it. And Dani became okay with it. But looking at it, I'm so appreciative of it because she understood. Like,
she's a mom.
We thought we were ready, but we weren't ready. That's another thing I tell people. Like, there's no way to prepare for a child.
None.
You know, you can think that you're ready,
right?
But there's no way to really prepare for it.
You're not.
Not at all.
But also, I say that to say, don't let I just need to make a little more money stop you from. If you want a family at some point, don't be like, because there's never a milestone.
Yeah.
There's never a point where you're like, I've got this, I've got that, no.
It's still something. It's still like it's such uncharted territory, and it's an amazing ride, and like we're only a year into it, and it's like, you know, still like the best thing we've ever done, and it's still like she makes us so happy, but it is
growing pains.
It is like a lot of growing pains. Like, you know, you're watching her grow, but then you're watching yourselves grow as parents. And then, you know, what the amazing thing is though too, is that like you get to kind of appreciate your partner in a whole new light if they're, you know, as long as they're good parents. But it's like, I do love watching him be a father with her. Like, I love that, like before we hit the road, I went from the kitchen to the living room, and I came back again, and he's like got her like walking on the ceiling, like, with, you know, I love that though, because I guess like maybe it goes to almost like a biology thing. It's just like, it's attractive to me that he's like such a doting dad, and he wants to, you know, he takes care of her, and he loves her so much because he is, and he plays with her, and she's like eating, you know, she's like having the time of her life, just flipping her around or whatever. And those things, so you get to like appreciate your partner in another aspect.
Find a new sexy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it really is. Like, so, you know, before it was like, okay, you know, like I said, when we were on Horrible Decisions, like, you know, doing the dishes is a turn on. But then also, like, getting up with her in the middle of the night, if she's like, all of a sudden she wants to, you know, fuss, or her leg gets stuck in the crib like she does. Like, it's just a whole nother thing. But it's like, oh my God, I don't have to get up out the bed. Like, thank you so much, you know? So it really makes a difference. But yeah, like new parenting it's a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It is.
You guys are doing well.
We're hanging in there. You know,
trying.
We're doing what we can. Fake it till you make it, right?
Oh, I know that.
So, you got any more questions for Michelle before we?
Last question about, like, I guess, like, sexual health. And then I kind of want to ask a question about you personally.
Okay.
But what's one piece of advice you would want everybody to know about sexual health? That's something that me and Dani was saying.
Like if you were walking down the street and you had to tell every person that you ran into one thing, like, what would be like that thing?
Just one.
How many you need? You can get
3.
All right.
Okay.
You get 3 things.
Hit them with the headlines.
1, consent is, not only sexy, but a must. 2, don't be silly and wrap your willy. And then 3, know your status. So make sure you're getting tested. And getting tested and communicating your results with the partner.
Got it.
So those would be my 3 things.
I like it.
Yeah.
Amazing headlines.
I don't, about sexual health. Oh, and it is April, so I'm going to say this. It's Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, as well as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But we started with that with consent. So men, check your testes. It's important. Women, check your breasts. Get your pap smears. Like, I think that the one thing if it had to be one soundbite, so you can edit it if you want. The one thing is, remember to think about your sexual health as a holistic thing. Like, that's not just genitals. That's your mind, your body, and your spirit, and your sexuality. Remember that good sexuality is a part of good health.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what it'd be.
And what's your
so
Michelle's specific?
For Michelle, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
It's like a job application, right?
More books.
Okay.
International lecture tour.
I see that.
Television. Would really like to do that. There's a lot of sex shows out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name any, but there are a lot out there. But one thing doesn't look like the other.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
And it's the hosts don't look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. And I love what you're saying. I think you're doing a great job. I like these shows. But I really want to look like me.
Mm-hmm.
I really want someone that knows a little bit more about what my struggle is.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I think that's it. So, more books, international speaking tour, and a TV show.
Claim it, girl.
Maybe a one-woman show. I think I could probably do that.
You definitely can.
I think it would be funny.
Tell me where to go. I get it on Ticketmaster. I have the
Yeah,
app.
right? It would be funny.
It would.
So, yeah, so that's that. And hopefully, you know, having dinner with you and your 6-year-old.
Oh, my God. I can't even process
talking
that.
about kindergarten.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, my God. I can't even process that. Like, the fact
Maybe
that
with a kid of my own. I don't know.
Maybe. And then you can, like, all the, you know, pregnancy questions.
I know, that would be fun, right?
You could be like,
I've thought about becoming a doula, so.
I think you'd be really awesome at that.
Yeah.
Because, and I, you know, what's funny is like, when I reflect back on like my pregnancy and childbirth
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the things that went right, like I had, you know, had a completely unproblematic pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
healthy from start to finish, and you know, up until I had to have a C-section, but there were things that I really like. You know, you don't know what you don't know because I've never been pregnant before.
Right.
You know, I've never had, you know, and had full term, you know, gone through all
Right.
these motions and stuff like that. And now, like, when I think about, okay, when the time comes, you know, we do want to have, at least, you know, more children. But when that time comes, like, now I know, like, okay, like, these are things I might, and having, like, a doula or you know, it is something I thought about because I'm like, I like, you know, I have an OB, I had that experience, but I was like, maybe this is something else I could do because trying to still have, you know, childbirth, like vaginal childbirth is a goal of mine, even though, because it's possible now. Not saying it's going to happen, but those are like definitely things. But I do feel like, you know, your knowledge and then combined with like the compassion and the personality, like when you're in the throes of labor, like, and I didn't even get all the way to like active labor in my own experience, but just like where the part I was in, like you need people who are, you know, I have my family and TJ and everything, but like you need people who are like
Shut it down.
Yeah.
And talking you off the ledge.
Exactly. Like hold you down.
You're fine. I'll handle your mother.
Exactly.
Mom, I need you to step out the room for a
and see,
minute.
like I was blessed. I didn't have that issue. Like my biggest beef was with one of the nurses. So it was like,
or nurse lady, need you to back up.
Exactly. Yeah. They gave me some good drugs, and the next thing I know, I was like, man, fuck Monica. Monica was the nurse.
Okay,
So,
Monica.
yeah.
Probably not the first time she's heard that though.
Probably not. Yeah, because that's a whole nother conversation. But thank you so very much, Michelle.
No, thank you guys. I
we
appreciate
met. You know, we found you on TJ found you on Instagram and
I found on Instagram after that.
Instagram after
on Power 105.
Yes, so TJ found you and
I was like, oh, she's dope.
And so like
she's talking my stuff.
Exactly.
She's talking what I like to talk about.
He was speaking his language, and you know, you hosted us when we were on Horrible Decisions. You know, always been such a resource and so open and willing to speak with us and talk to us, and we want to let you know that like that does not go unnoticed, and we thank you.
I'm humbled.
And
I mean, actually, I'm not supposed to say that. Thank you. Somebody told me that when you say that, it makes you look like an asshole.
No, I didn't get that.
I don't know. It's like something. But anyway, I'm super grateful for everybody who listens, for every follower, for, you know, I'm a sappy sap. So sometimes, like, when I read the letters people send me, I get a little teary-eyed. I do love people. I have, if you follow me, you can kind of see my life. You only see, like, one half of it. There's, like, a whole other half I don't share. Maybe one day you will get to see that. But I just feel it's God working through me. She knows what she's doing, and she just all I am is a vessel. So I just thank everybody, and thank you so much for being interested in buying my book. I appreciate you so much, and
No, definitely.
you know, hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
No, we definitely gonna have you back.
Yeah, because we and then because I.
We're gonna have to do a Q&A next
exactly.
time.
We're gonna have to we're gonna pull
hey, listen, she's
all
coming
these
back.
questions, and we're
She's
just gonna
coming
read.
back.
It's just gonna be literally gonna hit you with like all the headlines,
Okay.
and then you just like rattle off the answers.
All right.
So with that, it's time to go to Dani's favorite part.
Fight.
Go ahead.
So
So these are her sound bites to go into our Lovers Quarrel. So
get over here. That was from Mortal Kombat. I have so many. I'm forgetting the order in which they do.
I don't know.
And then
this is probably the worst sound bites ever.
well, until you figure out how to add sound bites, I'm gonna be the sound
you
bite.
can do a drum roll. Go ahead. Yeah.
All
that.
I can. If my teaching career doesn't work out, I'm just gonna do voiceovers or something like that. So, this is Lovers Quarrel. This is our last part of the show. So, always something that me and him don't see eye to eye on sometimes, or maybe we come to an agreement at the end of it, or we agree to disagree. Okay. And this week's Lovers Quarrel has to do with multitasking. I say it's a myth. He swears by it. I don't think it exists. I think that you do. Multitasking to me is like I don't think it really exists because I just feel like you're just doing one thing at a time, but in like rapid succession. Like you're like, okay, I'm doing this and then I'm stopping. I'm gonna do.
What about walking and chewing gum?
Yeah, I don't really. I don't know.
I feel like you can multitask.
What about listening to a podcast and washing the dishes?
I guess.
Because she does that all the time.
I do that all the time.
She's in the kitchen.
And you're great at it.
Yeah.
But,
yes.
Okay, but
yes.
I don't. Okay, I just don't think. But like, okay. He says so. Like, he says he's multitasking when he's like on hoopstype.com and then typing a paper at the same time. And I'm like, you're not. I'm like, no, you're clicking between tabs.
That is not multitasking. Well, that it would be considered multitasking because you have a task manager with multiple windows open.
Okay.
Or multiple programs because let's think about the word task, multitasking. So when I think about that, I think immediately what came up for me is a computer. Mm-hmm. And when you hit the Control Alt Delete and the task thing comes up and you see all those things, and that's why your computer is not working well. So I'm not going to sit here and say that people multitask well.
Okay.
It is possible.
Okay.
But you're probably not doing everything that you're doing. You're probably not doing it well.
I can agree with that. I can say that because I think
multitask well.
I don't. I just don't think, and I think maybe, and I'll say this, and I can amend my statement. It says like your brain is, you're not giving like 100% to whatever you're doing. You're like, you're giving like 10, if you're doing 10 different things at the same time, quote unquote, then you're only giving like 10% of your effort or focus to those things.
It may not all be 10%. You may give one 15, one 5.
But what kind of quality is that if you're not gonna, like, if
does
it's
the job
15%,
get done?
But if it doesn't get done well, you got to do it again.
I'm just saying. So when you work, you may have your lesson plan, but then something else happens. Something else has.
And those are when my lessons are less effective because if I am in the middle of a lesson, but then somebody knocks on the door and they're like, Mrs. Byerson, I need you to do this, that, and the other, and I'm gonna be like, okay, hold on, and then something else goes on, and I have to get back to it. I have to figure out where I left off. I have to figure out what's going on. Am I gonna have time to finish the lesson? Are they gonna understand what I'm doing?
You can still multitask.
No.
I think you can.
Okay, you can multitask, but people don't do it well. I'll meet you there, but it's not.
Okay.
I think it's not.
I think some people can.
I don't think you can.
I don't think
you can. I don't think people can.
If I have to get it done by a certain time, does it get done? If I have 3 things done that needs to be done by 10 o'clock, do they all get done?
Maybe.
Definitely. They definitely do.
Probably.
They definitely do. If I have an assignment, if I have 2 assignments due by 11:59 on Sunday, are they both done?
They could be done, but how well are they done? Are you getting full credit?
Yeah. I'm not getting full credit.
That's because professors don't be reading shit in grad school.
Now you're trying to find loopholes.
But I just don't think, I really don't. Because I read that at some point in time, like, it was just like, you really don't, like, multitasking just isn't. And, like, even to your point, Michelle, like, you're saying, like, walking and chewing gum or listening to a podcast, like, the level of attention that those activities require are not the same as, like, writing a book or an essay or planning a lesson. So I just feel like maybe it depends on the tasks that are being
All I can say is what came up for me is the idea of somebody going into surgery, and that surgeon is there to do one thing, which is fix your knee. Mm-hmm. But the surgeon also needs to make sure that the arteries don't get clotted, that your blood pressure is still going. And so in my mind, in that's a lot of multitasking, right? Even as a teacher, you're multitasking because you're teaching your lesson plan, you're trying to hit your objectives, you're managing classroom behavior. You got to make sure that little Joey over there don't poop on himself or hit the kid next to him because he likes to do that. So in that, I think we're multitasking all the time. Again, it's one of those things like, I want to spend every waking moment with you. Lies. For someone to say that multitasking doesn't exist is... you living under a rock? Like, even thinking, I think, is multitasking. Like, you have to read someone's body language. You have to listen to the tone. You have to be aware of all of these different spaces and things going on.
He feels so validated right now. It's okay.
Hey, she putting points on the board for me.
Listen, these are her points. She's making her argument.
Hey, listen.
14 years, you ain't made these arguments, so it's
I'm pretty sure I have. You just didn't take my
I think that it's like, I think we're multitasking all the time. I think we're waiting on that phone call. We're thinking about that email. We're trying to figure out what I'm having for dinner. You now have a kid, so you are about to be the master of multitasking. I'm breastfeeding while I'm sleeping, while I'm thinking about what I'm wearing to work tomorrow. Like,
well, I think okay, and I can accept that point, and I can.
Just different levels of multitasking, but
okay, but in that case, then if multitasking does exist, if I have my quarrel, if I'm on the wrong side of this quarrel at this point, then that means that you can no longer say you don't know how to multitask, because I do it all the time. So I do know how to multitask. So
you know how to do it well. To your point, that's what you said earlier.
No, because I said you have all those tabs open.
Nope, that's what you said earlier. You believe that you can multitask, but you can't do it well. So when I say it, you don't do it well.
I can't stand you. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to end this episode and still be nice to you.
Can I get my points?
Sure. You know why? Because Michelle saved you.
All right, I'm cool with that. She just gave me 20 assists.
That's fine.
We just blew you out. Blew you out the water. You're gonna take these L's.
There's a first time for everything, and let it be a woman to be the one that gets you where you need to be. So
just give me my victory. Thank you, Michelle.
It's gonna be an asterisk next to it because it was Michelle's victory.
No, not at all.
Listen,
we're a team.
Sure. High five. All right. Well, listen, we don't want to take any more of Michelle's time. This is a busy multitasking woman, and she has plenty of things to do. And we thank her so much for being on this episode of Lovers Quarrel. And Michelle, before we go, just tell everybody and anybody who listens where they can find you.
I'm on the gram. No, I'm on all social media at MHSexpert. Or you can go to my website, www.mhsexpert.com. And, keep up with me, Twitter, social media.
And I'll be sure to put everything in the bio and put the book in the bio. So.
Oh, yeah, you can get my book. I keep forgetting about that. That's so funny. I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, you can get my book on Amazon.
Yep, so we're going to have all that out there. Again, if y'all, thank you for listening. You can follow us on IG at
Lovers Quarrel Show.
And on Twitter,
Lovers Quarrel 7.
And send your emails and your vents. Elevator pitches.
Elevator talk.
There you go. Come
on.
I'm still learning. That's why I need you.
Join me over here.
That's why I need you.
Okay.
I couldn't do it without you, babe.
You're right.
So you can send those to loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
And this is your girl, Dani.
And this is your guy, TJ.
And again, another episode of Lovers Quarrel. And as always, we fuss.
We fight.
But we love. Bye.
Later.